Welcome back. I'm Beth Haynes. Medicine and technology, they're two fields that are merging into one. Right now, Apple is working to build a team of sensor, medical technology experts, and hardware experts. According to Reuters, much of the hiring is in sensor technology, which Apple's CEO has said is, quote, going to explode. Joining us now with more on this growing field is tech expert Dan Thompson from Claris Networks. Always glad to have you on, and boy, some interesting topics here.
Definitely so.
Futuristic stuff, in fact. We'll get to some of that in a minute, but let's begin by talking about exactly what we're discussing when we hear sensor technology.
Yeah, sure. So what it seems that Apple is doing, they're in a bit of a race to arms, so to speak, with hiring up all these people from companies based mostly in the medical industry. And what they seem to be after is some sort of technology much further than we can get with like a Fitbit today. So they're trying to go beyond like just how many steps you take, and maybe have a built-in heart rate monitor is one thing that people have supposed about. Another is being able to check your blood pressure or maybe even your blood sugar without actually taking blood samples. So these are the types of things that people are speculating, and the types of companies that these people have been hired from. So it seems like that's the direction. Maybe it'll end up in the much rumored iWatch that we've been talking about for what, like 2 years now? So maybe it'll end up in something like that, but definitely medical. Like if you look at the wearables, it's all going towards health type stuff. And so it seems like maybe Apple may be overshooting all that and saying, hey, we're going to jump way out in front with something really radical.
Something really radical, such as hearing aids, even technology that can actually predict heart attacks. Do we know these are for sure? Or?
Well, we don't. So basically what all this information is being based off of are the companies that these individuals were hired away from. So all these companies were working on devices like that, and it seems like Apple is trying to buy away the brain trust.
So it's their expertise.
That's right. They're buying the expertise, so to speak. So maybe we'll see that. It's very interesting technology, though, and what's also interesting is the FDA seems to be posturing to step in and say, well, now hang on a second, guys, this is a medical device. You have to come through us now. You can't just launch this on your own.
So it'll be regulated.
Yes, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I also want to talk about these devices, even something called drug implant that directly administers drugs as they enter our body. This is crazy.
Yeah, this is a little weird. So this is like this little microchip, and essentially what it does is it releases drugs into your system. Now this would be like pre-scheduled drug kind of things. The immediate application that people are talking about are contraceptives for women. So it would introduce estrogen and progesterone into a woman's body, much the way that the implantable devices do today, except it's using technology and actual circuit boards to do it instead of just like a slow drip type technology. Men have a similar thing that introduces testosterone to their bodies if you have, low testosterone or whatever. So this device would fit that bill, but do it in a much more high-tech way. Doctors could supposedly interact with the device, maybe using your phone or some other wireless device to either up the dosage or lower the dosage or end the dosage altogether. So very neat technology, but of course that begs the question, if a doctor can interact with it, could someone else like hack the device and interact with it? I mean, you can imagine the catastrophic effects if it dumped all the testosterone into a man's body all at once. I mean, that would not be good. And then the cancer implications if it could do the same thing with estrogen and progesterone. So lots of weird questions around all that, but as always, very interesting ideas. And
fascinating for sure.
Yeah, and it's neat to see how, like you said a second ago, that technology and the medical industry are kind of merging together in this sort of natural evolution.
One of the neat things also, Google Glass being tested in surgery.
Yes, and it's interesting. So I actually had the Google Glass, one of the devices on the morning show a couple weeks ago.
Did you find one? I know you were soliciting.
Yes, I finally did. Andrew May is a local programmer in town. Let me borrow his. So very cool device, and he even said medical seems to be where the most practical application of the device is. There's a doctor up in Boston, I believe it is, that was experimenting with one in emergency rooms and basically can see patients' charts right there in his eye.
Because I was going to be curious, how would it help a doctor? I'm not familiar with the Google Glass.
Yeah, so what his perspective specifically was is it allows me not to be looking looking at a computer screen when I'm interacting with my patient. So he could literally be looking you in the eye and reading something. So it appears that he's looking at you when he's really reading something, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. But so he could see your charts, he could see the medications and things like that. The surgery application is surgeons can actually record the surgery for later playback, which today they have a bigger camera that mounts on the side of their head. This would just be the little glass thing, which is very small. So also really cool application of that.
Awesome. Well, I know we'll continue to talk about these things, but very cool to see the merger taking place and what's to come for sure. Well, great conversation as always.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on, and we're coming right back after this.